What's going on, guys? CTG Matt back. Welcome to the final days of the NBA season. This is the NBA Finals prediction for me officially. If you're a casual fan, enjoy it. There's only at most 7 basketball games left of the season, and that's for 4 months, somewhere along those lines. Yeah, it starts around October. So enjoy it while it's here, because soon enough we're going to be talking about Summer League. Isn't that just the most exciting thing? Getting hyped about rookies who are dropping 40 in Summer League, because that matters. We're going to be doing that soon enough. Same with preseason. Stick around on the channel, though. Yes, today is my NBA Finals prediction. I'm going to come right out and say it. OKC, I think I have winning the finals. I don't think it's a shocker to anybody. However, I don't want to discount the Indiana Pacers. I view them as probably the biggest riser in these playoffs so far. Tyrese Halliburton has solidified himself as a top 15 player in basketball. Pascal Siakam has solidified his I don't even know how to describe him. He has been very good in these playoffs. You know, guys like Aaron Nesmith have proven themselves, and this has been a exciting run for the Indiana Pacers. There's a couple of reasons why I'm choosing OKC over Indiana. This is one that I've hammered home all playoffs since the start of it, was that OKC has something I like to call lineup versatility. They have the ability to play double bigs. They have the ability to play no bigs. They have the ability to play Chet Holmgren at the 5, who's a big, but not really a big, if you know what I mean. He's more of a perimeter guy. Indiana has that ability too, don't get me wrong. They can play Pascal at the 5. Miles Turner isn't a traditional 5. He's more of a spacer. But I do like the ability for OKC to run double big or no bigs, and it works just the same. They have different lineups out there, like Jalen Williams. Jay Will was getting PT at some points this playoffs. Chet has impressed me beyond belief, and I just don't think Indiana has a stop for that. You saw how it worked when they had Cat and Mitchell Robinson on the court in the Knicks series. Indiana did a pretty good job at defending that, but Tony Bradley is hurt. I think he's questionable for Game 1 already, as far as I saw, and so that kind of sets them back a little bit. Also, a couple other things. Indiana has been the most foul-happy team in the playoffs. They currently average, let me check it just to make sure my number's right. Yeah, as a team, they average 23 personal fouls per game as a team. Of course, Oklahoma City gets to the free throw line, especially, Shea. He lives at the line, and J-Dub will live at the line too if you let him. So I don't like Indiana's fouling and their undisciplined defense at times, because they're a really young team. I think OKC is going to take full advantage of that. If you're going to foul 23 times per game, which they have for the entirety of the playoffs, Oklahoma City is going to take full advantage of that, especially Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who hunts contact. That's all he wants to do realistically on offense. He wants to get to his spot, and it's either he's going to raise up or he's going to swipe and your hands in the cookie jar and you're done. So I definitely think Indiana's relatively undisciplined defense in these playoffs will come back to bite them, especially against Jalen Brunson when they were fouling and stuff like that. But I think another thing that Oklahoma City has on them is just the turnovers that they force. Oklahoma City forces some of the most turnovers I've ever seen. They're averaging over 10 steals a game in these playoffs, I believe. Let me check that just to make sure. Yep, Oklahoma City is averaging 10.8 steals per game in these playoffs. Almost 11 steals per game. That's almost 2 full steals more than the second-place team. And they've played more series than the second-place team as well, I believe was the Lakers. It's not really a bold prediction to say the 68-69 nice, however many win team is going to beat the Pacers. It's not. It's not a hot take. But I've said since the beginning that Oklahoma City was going to win the finals. And when they beat Denver, my thought was that they'd kind of exercise the demons. Jokic was giving them hell, and they were still able to manage to pull out that series, and that was their toughest battle of this whole thing. And in terms of transition offense, Indiana loves to get on the break, but Oklahoma City does too. I think they're 1 and 2 in transition points. Yeah, this is per underdog. I'm looking at it right now. Fast break points per game, Oklahoma City averages more, which is pretty damn impressive considering the Pacers run at the pace. You know what I mean? They're the Pacers. I know everyone's made that corny-ass joke by now, but the Pacers are one of the fastest teams in the NBA, and Oklahoma City still beats them in fast break points. In terms of opponent fast break points, they're 1 and 2, with Oklahoma City once again beating them. Points off turnovers per game, Oklahoma City beats them by about 5 per game. Opponents' points off turnovers per game, Oklahoma City, it's only a 0.1 difference in favor of Indiana. So these are pretty relatively close to even teams in terms of in transition, but Oklahoma City's just better at turning teams over, and Indiana's very undisciplined. In terms of defense, they foul way too much, and I don't know who they're going to rely on to be that backup 5-man if Miles Turner gets into foul trouble, if Tony Bradley is hurting. I think it's a hip injury or something of the sort, And on top of that, Thomas Bryant ain't giving you 3 threes. Thomas Bryant gave you a legacy game in Game 6 against the Knicks. I don't think I'd expect 3 threes again out of Thomas Bryant, maybe ever in his career. If Indiana wants to win this, they're going to need Andrew Nembhard to kind of turn it around and become a great scorer again, because I fully expect Dort and Caruso to be pressuring Halliburton basically full court, because that's what they do to everybody. But Indiana also does that too. But Dort and Caruso are going to be blitzing on screens. They're going to be up, forcing the Indiana offense to start their actions very high up, and they have switchable big men. They do. Isaiah Hartenstein is kind of more switchable, in my opinion, than a Mitchell Robinson is. You know, he's more fleet of foot. Chet Holmgren is quicker than Karl-Anthony Towns is. The way that the Pacers were able to exploit the Knicks in terms of pick-and-roll coverage, with Karl-Anthony Towns being a sorry shell of a defender, a sad sack on the defensive side of the ball, the Thunder don't have that problem. They don't have a Karl-Anthony Towns who's going to fail on pick-and-roll coverage 8 times out of 10, who's going to fall back into drop coverage more times than he's not. And for me, it really just comes down to Andrew Nembhard. The guy's a terrific player, don't get me wrong, but he didn't have his best series against the Knicks. I would really like to see him become re-engaged into this offense and go back to that 18 points per game type of guy if they're going to have a chance to win. Because realistically, who's going to be guarding him? That might be Caruso. You know, or Caruso might be on Pascal at this point. Caruso's been guarding bigs these playoffs, and he's done a really good job. That's another thing about Oklahoma City that they have. They have perimeter defenders who also can guard big men. Dort, Caruso have held their own against big men in these playoffs. Caruso had multiple good plays against Jokic, of all people. Since he's joined the Indiana Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton's had his struggles against Oklahoma City too. He's only averaged about 12 points and how many assists? 7, 8. It's not great. It's not pretty. You take away his Sacramento stint, of course, because that's not fair to judge him on. But statistically, with Indiana against the Thunder, Tyrese Halliburton has had his struggles. And again, we know what the key is to this Indiana offense at times. When Tyrese Halliburton ain't scoring, they struggle. They're one of the best teams in the league when he scores over 20 points. The kicker is that against OKC, the guys struggled to get over 20 points. And that's the real key for this Indiana offense. How aggressive is Tyrese Halliburton going to be? You know he's going to be wanted poster. You know, he's on a poster in the OKC locker room. They're looking at him like, yo, we need to stop this guy. And they're going to send the 2 best defenders maybe in the league at him, in Dort and Caruso. How's he going to handle that? Halliburton can pass well enough to where, yeah, he's still going to probably get his 10 assists and 1 to 2 turnovers, but that's not as impactful as him scoring 20, we've come to see. You know, him getting that 10 assists, it's great and all, but if he's only got 9 to 12 points, it doesn't really matter. They rely on him to be a scorer. That's just the plain and simple, because they don't have a dedicated, like, closer type, and while he is a great scorer, in his own right at times, there's games where he just takes himself out of it. There's games where he's just not aggressive. And I worry that that's what's going to happen in this series. With all the special defensive attention he's going to get, is he just going to be like, okay, I'm content with passing the ball and let my teammates win this? I don't know if I like that strategy, though. I also think Indiana's best bench player in terms of their ability to score the ball is Bennedict Mathurin. And how has he done that in these playoffs? He got into the free throw line. Indiana or Oklahoma City does not send teams to the free throw line. They're statistically one of the best defenses when it comes to not fouling and just making you make the shot. Bennedict Mathurin's going to struggle to get to the line, and he scored a good percentage of his points at the line these playoffs. The Pacers' defense isn't the worst I've ever seen as well, but I definitely don't think it's the strongest one. It's not better than OKC's defense. I wonder how the Pacers' defense is going to be able to stop the Thunder. Like I said, they're largely an undisciplined unit. They don't have the biggest perimeter defender. Yes, Aaron Nesmith did a terrific job against Jalen Brunson. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not Jalen Brunson. He's got about 5 more inches of height on him, and he's a little bit bigger size-wise, a little bit stronger. While Aaron Nesmith is a terrific player, I still think he's going to struggle to guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's probably going to be fouling a bunch. And if he gets into foul trouble, I really don't know who's checking Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on their team. I don't know. I don't think Pascal's going to be doing that. You know, Nembhard is too small to be guarding him. Shai's numbers against this Indiana team have looked kind of crooked, too. Let me go check that. In their 2 matchups this season, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander against the Indiana Pacers. At Indiana, he dropped 45, 8, and 7. 45, he shot 15 of 22 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. And, of course, 11 of 11 from the free throw line because, again, kind of undisciplined fouling from Indiana. And then in their most recent matchup, he dropped 33, 8, and 7. 10 of 23. It's not the greatest. It's not the worst either. But again, 10 of 12 from the free throw line because undisciplined defense. Shea's going to get to the line no matter what. We know that. And it really comes down to how can Indiana stop that? I just don't think they can. I don't think they have the ability. I don't think they have the number of defenders necessary. Obi Toppin isn't checking Shea. Reed Shepard isn't checking Shea. Andrew Nembhard ain't checking Shea. I'm taking Shea over all these defenders. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Indiana and quite simply going, okay, Dort versus Halliburton. I like the odds there for Dort. Caruso versus Halliburton. I like those odds there. Case and Wallace against Tyrese Halliburton. I like that too. There's just more matchups that I like in favor of Oklahoma City than I do for Indiana. That's the simplest way I can explain it, is I like Oklahoma City's matchup against Indiana more than I like Indiana's matchup against Oklahoma City. I think that Indiana can still push this to 6 or 7 games. I do not think they will be the winner of this series, however. But again, they've proven everyone wrong in these entire playoffs. It'd be really fun to see them do it again. However, of course, being the hot take specialist that I am, I'm not going to pick against a almost 70-win regular season team who beat Nikola Jokic and Anthony Edwards and his crew. I respect what Indiana's done this season, but at the end of the day, I just don't think they have the facilities to defend a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in a finals setting. And I don't think that Indiana has the defensive ability to get consistent stops against a guy like Chet or even J-Dub. I think J-Dub can shred them and have a big series too. I just think Oklahoma City has more ways to beat the Pacers than the Pacers have to beat Oklahoma City. Pacers have to rely on their transition offense, but even then, the Thunder are one of the better transition defenses, and they're one of the best transition scorers themselves in the league too. So even if it becomes a track meet, Oklahoma City can still win a track meet. I think Finals MVP is going to be Shai. Let's just be honest with each other. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, just like I believe he was Conference Finals MVP as well. And then on top of that, I think it'd be 6 games. That's what I'm going to give the Pacers, is 2 games. I think they can win 1 at home, and I think they can steal 1 in Oklahoma City. Hell, they might even steal game 1. That would be electric. But yeah, that's my predictions video. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe. Got some more videos coming out soon, so stick around. Might as well subscribe. I'm going to go catch a game. See you guys in the next one.